all I want to do.
This is the DIY Artist Route and You podcast, navigating your uncommon path to success in music, business, and life. Hi, I'm D. Grant Smith. I talk a lot about being uncommon, and I talk a lot about superfans for your work. And there are plenty of insights, free PDF ebooks, and more, all at dgrantsmith.com to dive into why it's important for you to embrace both. This episode of the podcast features an outstanding conversation with one of the biggest music fan-building experts, Michael Brandvold. He's a coach and marketing wizard for bands like Kiss, Motley Crue, Britney Spears, Ozzy Osbourne, and others. He is an author and podcaster at Music Biz Weekly, and he has a great ebook on 25 lessons he learned from working with Kiss. You should definitely go download it now for free at michaelbrandvold.com. We're going to learn a lot about what a superfan is and how to reach them from this conversation with Michael. Do you know what superfans want the most from you? Guess what? It isn't your music. There's also something that he and I will hammer down that is absolutely vital for you to grasp onto to be successful in this space. It's the one thing that both the big-name successful mainstream artists and the DIY artists like you have in common. We'll talk all about that. And we'll also learn how Michael first became associated with Gene Simmons from Kiss, and it all started with him being a Kiss superfan. All this and much more in today's conversation with Michael Brandvold. We are joined this time by Michael Brandvold. He is a marketing guru. He's worked successfully with the famed rock band Kiss and a slew of other fairly big-name performers. He is a music superfan, and he knows all kinds of stuff about how to market and grow your music. Michael, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here with you.
I hope I gave you a proper introduction that identifies the things that you're really excellent at. Unlike what some people may think when they hear these really big-name artists and having to go with those artists picking people that are on these big marketing companies. That wasn't how you got started working with Kiss. Will you tell us that story?
Yeah, so I got started with Kiss literally as a fan. I've been a fan of the band since the mid-'70s. And in the mid to late 90s, I was teaching myself how to program in HTML. This is like quite honestly, the infancy, the very early days of the internet and just websites in general. And there were no programs to help you. There was no Dreamweavers. There was no WordPress. There was no Wix. There was nothing like that. If you wanted to build a website, you had to code it by hand. You had to understand the HTML programming language. I was teaching myself this, and I figured if I'm going to do it, I might as well build something that I like and that's fun. So I decided to build a Kiss website. As a Kiss fan, I was like, that would be fun to do. At least I would be interested in that. And I built a Kiss website that I launched back in 1995 as just a fan. Long story short, 3 years later, summer of 98, it had grown into a pretty massive website, in that even Adobe back then did a profile on me in the website, because at the time it was the largest website on the internet that Adobe knew of that was built using their tool called Adobe Go Live, which was kind of a competitor to Dreamweaver way back then. And I got a call from Gene Simmons one day just saying, we're gonna do our own website. What are you doing? Are you interested in working for us? And the easy answer is yes. Let's talk about this. What's it going to entail? Who do I work for? Where do I work? How much am I going to get paid? A few weeks of negotiations with their manager. By October of 98, I had been relocated from Chicago out to San Francisco, and I was officially working for the band, building their very first website, launching it from the ground up, and fully responsible for building their online fan community, content generation, everything that went around, website. And keep in mind, again, 98, this is pre social networking. There was no social networking at that time. I mean, You didn't have YouTube. Facebook obviously wasn't around. Twitter wasn't around. WordPress websites weren't around. None of that was around. If you wanted to do video, you had to kind of encode your own video using Apple QuickTime quite often, and you get these little small postage stamp size things. People were connecting to the internet using modems through AOL. Vastly different than what we're all used to now. But one of the things I quickly learned is it's all about fan interaction. It's all about fan engagement and getting the fans involved in your website. And, that was the core to everything we were doing. I mean, we weren't interested in driving them anywhere else. We wanted the fans to come to the website, upload photos, leave comments, take part in the message board. It was, looking back now, everything we did back then in 98 is exactly what people should be doing today, whether it's on their website or on Facebook or on Twitter. I mean, the only thing that's changed is it's much easier to do today, and you've got a lot of options of where to go do it. But the basic philosophy of fan engagement is still the same.
You answered about 3 questions before I had a chance to ask them. So that's a good sign. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Between all the growth endeavors, you just mentioned a ton of stuff that social media and websites and all these different platforms, growth endeavors that musicians can have. What do you think is the absolute number one priority that a DIY musician should make sure that they get right in order to succeed?
There's a lot of things, but I still believe in my heart that everything you do, you must have a website. You must have a website that is yours, that you've developed, that is professional, that looks good, that's not taken away from all of the other important things of email lists and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and everything else. But all of that stuff can come and go. Social networks may come, may go. They will definitely change. The one consistent thing on the internet is your website. When the internet first opened up to the general public, mid-90s, you had a website. And today, that is still the one consistent thing. That, I like to explain it as that's like owning real estate. If you own land, that's your land. If you own a domain name, that's your land on the internet. That's yours forever. As long as you keep paying your yearly fee, renewal fee, that is yours forever. It will never go away. You can do whatever you want. Just like you own land, you can build whatever kind of house you want. You can do whatever you want on there. It's really important to have your own website.
You've mentioned about how you were a KISS fan, and I'm going to call you a KISS super fan because I believe that level of dedication to build something entirely on your own without first the band contacting you is a level of super fandom that is fairly rare. Will you tell us about the power of super fans for musicians to achieve strong and lasting success?
Yeah, I mean, super fans are, I kind of call them diehard fans. You're diehards. These are the fans. You don't need to preach to them. You don't need to convince them how great your new album is, why they should come see you on tour. They are diehards. They love you. They love everything you do. They're there through the thick, the thin, the good, the bad, everything. But where I see some bands lose touch is they take that for granted. And you can't take your diehard fans for granted because they are, if you imagine your fan base is like a pyramid, at the very top of that pyramid are your diehard fans. And every other fan you're going to have falls underneath that. And that means those diehard fans influence everything underneath them, all these other fans. So if the diehard fans are enthusiastic and loving you and talking about you online, the not so diehard fans are going to follow suit. And then the casual fans are going to follow suit. It's just so important to know who your diehard fans are. And, that might, if you're a young band, that might be one person. I mean, let's be real. If you've only been a band for 6 months, you could have one diehard fan. That one diehard fan is so important. That's the person that, every time you play a bar, you look out in the audience and there's that person out in the audience. And, you might laugh and go, who's that nut who's coming to every show? You should be going, thank you for coming to every show. And, you want to reach out to that person and personally thank them, because they're the one that's then going to tell their best friend how cool you are because you recognize them. And they can bring another fan in and another fan in. And, it was that old 70s TV commercial for some shampoo, you tell two friends and they tell two friends and they tell two friends. It all starts with that super fan, that diehard fan. And you have to identify them. You have to know who they are. You have to know who influences all of the other fans out there. Just as much as they will love you, these are the same fans who might say something like, my God, I can't believe they're doing this. This sucks. That can have a big impact on you. It's not to say they're not going to love you anymore, because they're probably still going to buy everything you do. They're just not liking certain things. But you need to understand who those people are.
How can musicians use their existing superfans to create more success both online and offline? Could you give us an example of maybe an online and offline method?
Well, a lot of times it's not that complicated. It's not the most complicated part is actually identifying who they are. And that means you've actually got you or somebody who works for you has to pay attention to who the fans are that are posting, who's always making comments, who's always the most ambitious, who's always doing artwork, who's getting the tattoos, whatever it might be. Once you've identified them, it's just connecting with them. In most cases, the connection is going to start online because, in all honesty, offline, you do want to, there's an issue of privacy, and you don't want people to come too close to you offline. You want to keep some distance, again, just for privacy and security purposes and stuff like that. But online, that's not an issue. And if you reach out to them online, and that could just be as simple as having somebody send that, and I've done this for bands, having somebody send them a private message on Facebook saying, hey, I work for the band so-and-so. They saw your artwork and loved it. They would like to know if you would be willing to make another piece of artwork that they could use for a tour poster. That type of connection is all it takes. And I can guarantee you, if they're truly a super fan, the answer is immediately yes. Not to say this in a way that you can take advantage of your fans, because don't do that. But quite often they're going to do it for free. They're not going to sit down and say, all right, I'll do that, but I'm going to charge you $500 an hour to do this. They're going to do it because they love you so much that they're going to give you this artwork. Now, where you as the artist, you need to be grateful for that, especially if you're a young artist, you don't have money. But what you can do is maybe you can, as a way of saying thank you, you can put them on the guest list for a bunch of shows. Maybe you can give them a couple T-shirts for free. If you're a bigger band, maybe you give them a free VIP meet and greet for them and a friend that they can come to a show and go backstage. It's things like that diehard superfan will love. Because one of the things I've discovered over the years is the number one thing your fans want more than anything, more than free tickets, free music, free T-shirts, they want to be recognized. And that means you recognize them for being a fan. And you recognize them for all of the support they've given you. And that recognition is, again, nothing more than a thank you. It could be sharing their artwork on your Facebook page and writing their name and saying, thank you to Joe Smith for sending this to us. That recognition is huge in that superfan's eyes, because what you've done is you've said a few things. Behind the scenes, basically what you've said is, I went and looked at your artwork. I liked your artwork. I'm putting your artwork on my official page. I'm going to put your name in there, and I'm going to put it in front. I'm going to put the spotlight on it in front of every single fan that comes to our Facebook page. If you're that super fan, how cool is that? How, that is like the coolest bragging right. Another simple recognition thing, and I see this so many times, is if you're active on Twitter, just follow them back on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
because I have seen so many fans send out a tweet saying, "Oh my God, this is the best day of my life. My most favorite band, blah, 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 just followed me on Twitter." That is now a super fan that's in your corner for life. And why? Because you recognize them by following them back on Twitter. That meant you saw their Twitter profile. You saw their name. You saw their photo. And to a fan, that is huge.
Right on. Right, man, you said so many awesome things here, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, and the important thing is, it like I said, a lot of it's very simple. Following somebody on Twitter is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Sending them a message on Facebook is very simple. You don't have to create these elaborate promotions and spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to do things. You don't have to fly people up. It's just recognizing them. It's saying thank you. It's saying hi. It's just saying, "I love that piece of art. I love the photo you took of us in concert. Could we use that? Can we have that photo to use in our next CD packaging?" You would make a fan's lifetime if they knew forever their photo was going to be in the packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Man, those are some great ideas. All right, you did some stuff with Kiss, but that's not the only big name band you've worked with. You've done stuff with Motley Crue, Madonna, Britney Spears, Ozzy Osbourne, a couple others. What would you say is maybe the number one similarity that these bigger artists have that DIY musicians have in terms of growing their audience?
The thing that these bigger artists have that they have similar amongst themselves, that DIY artists need to accept quickly, is it's a business. You have to treat this like a business. You have to do things for the benefit of your business. Yes, you're making music. Yes, you're getting up on stage and playing, but it's a business. And there's the right way and the wrong way of doing business. And the right way is great customer service. And customer service is nothing more than treating that fan nicely. And if that fan comes up to your merch stand and says, "Hey, I bought a T-shirt 2 weeks ago and it shrunk," or it whatever, you're immediately saying, "Here, let me give you a new T-shirt." These big bands have people that help them, advise them, assist them. They realize you can't do everything yourself. Now, yeah, someone's going to say, "Well, that's great. They've got millions of dollars and they can hire these people." The point is, even as a young DIY artist, there's people out there, all of that super fan, who might want to help you. That super fan, if you talk to them, you might learn that person's in college to study marketing. Wow, would you like to help us with our marketing efforts? We can't pay you, but we'll get you into shows for free. We'll give you free merchandise.
You can be an intern.
You can be an intern. That person is probably looking for some experience, and you're giving them a chance to get experience, and they're going to do something that's really fun, working with a band that they love. You need to look for those opportunities. You need to sit here and go, "Gee, that fan is a great artist. Maybe they become our go-to graphic artist for everything we do for the band." Don't do everything yourself. Don't think that you can, because it's impossible for you to do everything yourself. You cannot be a band writing, recording, performing, managing your Facebook, your Twitter, your YouTube, editing videos, editing photos, writing copy, designing graphics. Can't do all of that. You can oversee it. You can be involved in it, but, bring somebody else in and let somebody else help.
Awesome. Well, I didn't say this earlier, and I should have when I was introducing you, but you've got a podcast called The Music Biz Weekly. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, it's been around for, going on 5 years now. A weekly music business related show. We talk about anything music related, from music marketing to music news to what's going on with streaming services. A lot of DIY tips, lessons that we've learned over the years of working with bands, and ideas and things to do and things not to do. We like to make sure that when we do an episode, you can walk away going, yeah, I can do that. I don't need a budget of $100,000 to do that. I can do that tip, that trick. It's just filled with a variety of music marketing advice, is what I would say.
Well, Michael, you've been an outstanding guest, and you're a wonderful person to interact with and network with because of the way that you want to serve other people. I'm really, really moved by not only your insights, but your heart, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Michael Brandvold, music marketing expert who has worked with DIY musicians and bands like Kiss, Ozzy, Motley Crue, and a whole lot more. Details on Michael's work, his Music Biz Weekly podcast, and his PDF ebooks are all at michaelbrandvold.com. Once again, Brandvold is BRANDVOLD. The DIY Artist Route theme song comes from Timothy Palmer. It's a song called Tryin', found on his fantastic 2015 EP titled The Half Boy. Details at rebuildrestorerenew.org. So much great content here, and I do appreciate Michael unpacking it all for us. Insights into how to identify your superfans. They are the essential piece of your growth that makes growth actually happen. Find your superfans and identify how to make your music and your business much better. Listen to what they say about what you do. Find some easy and simple ways to bring them into your work, and Michael gave a few really great examples of that. The cool thing about superfans is that you don't have to do a big marketing push to get them involved. All you have to do is ask. There's a lot of stuff on how to build your superfan base on my site, dgrantsmith.com. I have free promotion PDFs and a radio-ready ebook there too. Reach out to me and let's talk about how to take your music and your business to the next level. All that once again at dgrantsmith.com. Thanks for joining me on this path of the DIY Artist Route podcast. If you haven't done so already, subscribe via iTunes right now and share this podcast episode with one person that you know who can benefit from it. I know that you know some artists and you probably know some entrepreneurs. Give them the gift of directional help. Thanks, I do appreciate it. I am D. Grant Smith, and I'll see you next time.